I had a big list of videos I was planning on making in the coming weeks and months, but screw my plans, we're just going to talk about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. This movie is everything. It literally has everything. Memorable and incredible characters, a simple yet extremely effective story, mature themes about appreciating life and death, one of the best animation styles ever put into an animated movie, and so on and so forth. Now, I've done 2 videos on this movie already earlier in the year, both of which skyrocketed in views, which is obviously amazing. I was trying to find a way to make another good old video on the Puss in Boots 2, but admittedly was kinda struggling to come up with ideas. I mean, can you really blame me? Pretty much every major DreamWorks fan has either seen this movie and knows how great it is, or hasn't seen the movie and still knows how great it is. So many of the amazing things about this movie has been milked to the point of exhaustion, so much so that I was really considering what else there even is to say, and then it hit me. Why don't I just make a video touching over pretty much everything here? Every aspect of this movie which I can currently think of as of the time I'm writing this. Every recognizable thing that exists within this movie, I will go into a bit of detail about, sure. And to make it even better, how about I give myself a little time limit? Exactly 10 minutes of runtime for this entire video, including the introduction. Enjoy the video, and I better start now because I'm quickly running out of time. The opening moments for this movie are perfect. They set the mysterious epic tone of the wishing star so well, and the music is brilliant. They really didn't have to go that hard on the animation within the first 30 seconds as well. Glad they did though. I don't think enough people are talking about the first real scene, just the way that Puss flings back his cape and presents himself to the joyful crowd. You can tell he's really cocky and self-entitled here just by the way he speaks to everyone, and it's clear that he feels and knows that he's above them all. Then there's Fearless Hero, which, oh my goodness, flippin' gracious, what a banger. God, I could sing that song for years. Then the giant tree shows up and you're like, what? That's crazy. And Puss just demolishes that tree like it's nothing. Let's be honest, if they were playing on the default mode, then I'd probably put my money on the tree, since at this stage in Puss's lives where he's just so careless. But even so, it's an epic scene. Just the way that Puss dominates the tree for every second and is able to do it in style. Oh man. Also, what? Bro, a mysterious hooded wolf is in the background of one of the shots. Wonder if he'll show up later. Anyways, good as hell scene. And then Puss gets died by a bell. Is it just me, or is this doctor an actual psychopath? I mean, he just plants leeches in his shirt. What a man. I love the scene where we see all the times that Puss has died. The way it just plays in such a perfectly chaotic order is incredible. I know that this is just going to waste a lot of time in the video, but I need to get this off my chest. If I was to rank the different 8 ways that Puss died, it would go like this. Number 8 would be Puss flirting with the girl and then getting run over by bulls. Number 7 would be Puss leaving the oven on for too long and then Gingy is just, what a goat. Number 6 would be Puss getting crushed by that damn bell. 5 would be Puss being buffed for 5 seconds straight. 4 would be Puss getting shot out of a cannon. 3 would be Puss being allergic to shellfish. Shellfish? Who cares? Number 2 would be Puss getting caught in 4K with a bunch of dogs. And then number 1 would be Puss when he's drunk and falls off a building. And that's about it. I like the rest of the scene with the doctor, and then we get to the big run. That's right, the big one. I mean, the first scene with Death is probably the best scene in the movie. Actually, no, it definitely is the best scene in the movie. The intensity even before he shows up is wild. All those neat little details like Puss having had 9 drinks at the bar, or the clock chiming 9 times and then the candle blowing out, that's epic. And this is all before Death appears. What an amazing introduction moment to the character. It's so excellent because you actually feel everything just piling up here, from the whistling to the writing to the tension. So good. And then there's the actual fight scene. Man, oh man, it's incredible. The animation and editing and fighting is actually perfect. And then there's this shot, man, with the sword falling on the ground and Puss looking at Death in fear, and then, bro, just straight up the scariest line in any DreamWorks movie right here. I won't say it just in case you haven't seen the movie yet, but you'll know the one. You'll know it. Puss's life flashing before his eyes gives me goosebumps every time. What a terrifying moment. This entire scene is just otherworldly, and it's one of the most adult things ever put into DreamWorks. Haunting and frightening all at once. Then the movie has got Puss deciding to retire at this weird cat home, which I think is just hilarious, honestly. There's actually a lot of really funny moments that come from this, and I like how they play the whole time passing by eye thing, you really feel the drag, and I don't know, man, it's just great stuff. This part of the movie is also where they introduced Perito, who's a shockingly good character. Like, I mean, I think everyone agreed this dog would drag the entire film down. It turns out that he's actually a really likable and heartwarming character, and his backstory is just wow. That's one of the saddest things I've actually ever laughed at. Also, I really like Goldie and the Bears, obviously. They're a really sweet family pack. However, even though I did say that I consider them to be perfect villains, just like I did with Jack and Death, I've kind of developed one small slight issue with them. Don't get me wrong, they are still perfect when it comes to the big picture and how they start off as villains, but slowly turn into a second group of somewhat protagonists that have made their peace with their heroes by the end. That's excellent, of course, but I'll be frank, I do have a concern with their plot twist regarding how Goldie wants to spend her wish. If you haven't seen the movie, I don't really care anymore, I'm just gonna have to spoil it for you. So it turns out that she wants to spend the wish on her getting a real family of humans, and this was nicely foreshadowed in a couple of scenes beforehand. But then when we actually get to the reveal, I don't know, man, I mean, it just feels kinda rushed. Like, the scene was pretty short for a massive plot twist in terms of the characters, but the scene was only like 4 seconds before the climax, and then it's resolved like 4 minutes later, which really doesn't give the twist any actual room to breathe. I felt like if the scene was several minutes earlier in the runtime, and if it was a little longer with more to say, then it would have definitely fixed the issue, and I would honestly be prepared to give this movie a 10 out of 10, but whatever, it's tolerable. And I felt really good about the way the movie ends for this group of jokers. Heartwarming stuff. I love how they are able to somehow cram everything we need to know pre-game within the spanning of about 2 minutes. It's just so clear that, like, okay, so you got the star thing that grants wishes, and you know that Goldie and the Bears want it, and Puss overheard them talking about it, and so we also know that he wants it, and then there's this big Jack Horner guy that they mention. Okay, so they've outlined what the movie's going to be about perfectly off to this Jack Horner man who apparently has a Mac that leads to a wishing star. Boom, perfecto. This is what I love about this movie. It doesn't explain everything in great detail, and there isn't a ton of time between addressing the plot of the movie and them actually getting it started. But it's really great how they tell us what we need to know first, only the essentials, and then the movie slowly feeds us everything else as it goes along. Genius. And then there's Big Jack, and what am I even watching? First impressions are everything when it comes to villains, and they killed it with Death and Jack Horner especially, and Goldie and the Bears have a great intro as well. You really get the vibe that this guy is bad news, but it's also made very clear to the audience that Jack is really just a ton of jokes with his character. But like I said in my Puss in Boots villain video, this mixture of jokes and leverage over the heroes works really well, and it reminds me of the classic Disney villains. Anyway, the intro to Jack is great, obviously. Then you got everyone trying to get the map from him, and we also see Kitty again, which is very cool. Then a good old chase scene erupts, and Puss, Kitty, and Perito, who's just been following Puss so far, get the map and skedaddle. But not before we get an appearance from Death, who stalks Puss through a crowd. Originally, I was skeptical on the idea that Death only actually shows up 5 times, and 2 of those are literally about 10-second mirror moments. But on another 3 watches, I honestly see the genius behind this. The fact that Death's time on screen is so brief, yet those few times are all really scary and intimidating, you can kind of feel his presence throughout the entire film, even when he's off screen. Love it. The quest itself is great too. They don't explain everything to us, of course, they just let us pick up on the secrets of this hidden wonderland. This is straight proof that DreamWorks at the very least think higher of children compared to Disney, who think that they have the brain cells of Perito. I shouldn't diss the little guy though, I love him. By the way, did I mention the scene where Puss has a panic attack after an encounter with Death? Oh my goodness, the way that Perito tries to help him calm down and then rests his face on Puss and it slowly calms him down. Bro, I actually got emotional in this scene, more so than any other in the movie. Man, Puss in Boots The Last Wish is just built different. I like the blooming re-romance between Puss and Kitty. It feels natural and real, which is nice, and the two of them have great chemistry, so yeah. Epic. And then there's the climax, which is just perfect, y'all. The fighting and the tension and the animation and the fighting, so good. And this is all before Death shows up. What in the name of mercy? This might be one of my favorite fight scenes in any animated movie. The light reprise of Puss's life flashing before his eyes was phenomenal. The action and how so many things just pile up. The way that Death sees a change in Puss's attitude towards life and decides to let him live really grows on you over time and remains a sensational conclusion to one of the top 3 best villains in any animated movie. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is something else, man. An unbelievably excellent and amazing spin-off, sequel, whatever the heck you want to call it. Anyways, this video is reaching the limit. I'm ending it now. Okay, bye!